All right, folks, this week we've got a real good one for you. The topic for this episode is going to be narrators. Oh, yes, unless Oliver lied to me.
Partial nudity and laughter are two things that we all love, unless you're stripping down in front of somebody you're trying to impress and they just keep laughing and saying it looks like Ronald Reagan's face and... But what if there was a venue for this special combination other than teen sex comedies and summer daydreams? Something a little more sophisticated, a little more up close and personal. What if there was burlesque? As luck would have it, burlesque does in fact exist. It began in Europe in the early 18th century as a form of comic theater, but the form with which most of us are familiar began in America in the early 20th century. A special cocktail of colorful costumes, humor, dance, and striptease. I'd certainly recommend this over the cocktail that you would get at any night at a strip club. This episode is a special one in that I've actually managed to gain access to someone involved with our topic and who really knows what she's talking about. Burlesque performer Coco Framboise. Coco has performed in numerous large North American cities, just returned from her first European tour, teaches burlesque in her excellent classes, and, amongst other television appearances, she has hosted a documentary on burlesque for Sex TV. So it is small wonder that we decided to grab a quick chat with her before she performed at the Burlesque a la carte fundraiser for the Toronto Burlesque Festival. Okay, so here we are with Coco.
Hello. Nice to be here.
Good to see you. So, all right, we're going to get straight into the questions. First one is, who is your favorite burlesque performer out of the current scene?
That's a tough one because there's so many fabulous performers. I think my favorites at the moment are Julie Atlas Muse out of New York, and I think Roxy Delight from Windsor. I think those two are my favorite performers. Of the ladies. Of the gentlemen, I would say Tigger, also out of New York, and Toronto's own Doolilly of Boy Last Tio.
So how about the routines? What would you say makes up a good routine? What should somebody be doing?
Well, I think there's so many different styles of routines, but my personal favorites are the ones that have a strong sense of musicality, where somebody's really making use of the accents in the music, as well as a piece with a great sense of humor, something a little bit unexpected, and when it actually is sexy. Not just playing it sexy, but actually makes you sort of go, ooh.
I've noticed that in modern burlesque, you seem to get a broader variety of body types than the classic burlesque. Why do you think that is?
I think because, well, my best guess is that to be a good burlesque performer requires a pretty broad skill set. Not only do you have to have good coordination and be able to handle yourself on stage, but it requires an awful lot of charisma and gusto, plus a lot of innovation. So I think that those skill sets are not necessarily found in just one body type. I think everybody's got a little bit of chutzpah and fire, and it's exciting that the burlesque audience is so willing to embrace all these different body types.
Now, would you say it's just a young woman's game?
Oh, definitely not. I know that there are still some legends who perform currently, and everybody dies to go see them. As a matter of fact, when I saw my first Miss Exotic World pageant back in the year when Erachika Bamboo won the crown, I saw Tempest Storm for the first time, and she was a legend back in the day, and her legs were better than my legs have ever been. Her legs now at, let's say, upwards of 60.
Let's say around there, yeah.
Upwards of 60. Her legs are better than my legs have ever been.
Wow, she must be proud for sure. Would you say there's any time when a woman should think about getting out of the game, though? If age isn't the thing, what would you say is?
I think whenever you run out of ideas, whenever it feels robotic and you're just phoning it in, that's a good time to stop.
So I'm curious, why do you think there's been this big burlesque revival over the last 15 years or so?
I'm not sure. I think that burlesque as a genre is a really great way to comment on all kinds of social mores, and irony is always welcome and needed. Society needs to sort of comment on itself, critique itself, ask difficult questions, and also just shake some booty. And I think it's been an interesting response to how explicit sexual imagery has become over the past century. Imagery has become much more explicit. So it's I think it provides an interesting counterpoint that these performances can be at a surface they might seem very cheesecake and quite chaste or even sort of demure, but many acts can be quite spicy in not just in the way bodies are presented, but the way they challenge values.
Yeah, and also the way, of course, they affect the mind, right? And of course, they tease a little, and sometimes we need that. It doesn't always have to be super explicit, right?
Exactly. You need to leave something to the imagination, and it sort of wakes us up to have to stop and think about what might be behind those fans or underneath that corset.
All right. And finally, I was wondering if you could finish us off here with your favorite little funny story from your experiences in burlesque.
One of my favorite little stories. I think I would have to go back to that first trip to Miss Exotic World, the year that Ereshika Bamboo won. That was the trip that I first started doing research into the genre. It was right before I started performing, about 5 years ago, close to 6. And I remember meeting Dixie Evans, who runs the museum there, and Dusty Summers, and it just sort of struck me that these women of far more advanced years and experience, it's interesting to see women with long hair and to realize that they're just girls like me. They're still trying to, they're still trying to hook hotties. They're still swinging it. They're still creating all of these fun acts and remembering how much fun it was back in the heyday. And I really realized that that these women, some of them missed their bodies, some of them missed the crazy tricks that were popular back in those days. And it was strange to be there chatting with these women like they were the same age as me, just trading those same giggly stories while surrounded in a room, completely surrounded in all kinds of sequin G-strings and fans. And these were the genuine articles. These items were used by all of these famous performers. And I just thought, how surreal that I'm sitting here trading hair tips and makeup tips with legends. And it's not necessarily the kookiest of all of my stories, but it's certainly one of the ones that's dearest to my heart, because it really helped me understand where these dancers were coming from and the reverence that they have for their work. And it's just so bizarre to see so many panties in one room. So many historic panties.
And it must have made you feel really welcome, too, to have them talk to you that way, like just another friend, kind of thing. Not just, I imagine there's a lot of really good camaraderie in the community. There's not a lot of, catfighting, blah, blah, blah. It seems everybody's very friendly.
It is a very friendly genre, and it's so intriguing to see what people are going to come up with next.
Well, I look forward to whatever you're going to come up with next. Thank you very much for talking with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. Bye-bye.
So, there you have it, folks. If Coco can't convince you, I don't know who can. And if you want to learn more about all the different dancers in our episode, you can check them out on handfulofminutes.com's Perfectly Wonderful and Horrible Things links section with follow-ups to all their websites. Now, tune in next week when we do a follow-up on this episode about Squirrelesque.
Well, that really put the steam under my collar. Got my boat able to float. Extorted my neighbors. Took loans out under my name. Had disturbing magazines sent to my address. Wiped my hard drive. Took me to dinner. Gave me food poisoning. Slipped me a Mickey. I'd rather not talk about what happened next.